there friends, Nibs again. Out here in the garage doing a little more tinkering tonight, and we're going to be working on the Crosman Model 180 some more, and hopefully getting that put back together tonight and ready to shoot. I did do a couple other parts to this video series. Started out with a tear down and evaluation of the parts to see if it was even worth doing, and then I did a part 2 where I kind of showed you some of my tricks and tips to cleaning up the stock and the metal parts of the gun, so we're not doing a refinish but a conservation of the parts. It's a 70-year-old, 80-year-old gun. I'm not looking to make it look like a brand new gun. I just want to clean off the many years of gunk and make it look like it's a nice, 80-year-old gun. So anyway, I've got my camera running here, focused down on the tabletop, and I'll bring you over to that and we'll get this thing put together. So let's go over there. So what I have here is here's the barrel, the CO2 tube, the hammer. We'll put this together later. So the first thing I really want to do is put the valve back together. We've got this piece here. This is the piercing needle for the CO2 cartridges. We'll need that, and we need to get out our seals. But I like to take these and these little kits I get from Henry. I'll dump them into a clean. Let me actually weight this thing out. It's got a little bit of dirt in there, but take a nice clean pellet tin, just so I'm not dumping them out on the table here where it might have a little bit of dirt. Again, here is go check out Henry Ford air rifles, which is Crosman600repair.com. Great guy. Got a couple more that I actually sent into him. I thought they were worth having him do his expert job on them rather than me goofing them up. So this white O-ring is going to be for the seal for the CO2 plug, and then we have 2 more. I guess you could mix these 2 up and it probably wouldn't hurt anything, but you have this white one which goes on there, and then this bigger black one goes on the end of the valve, and then there's a slightly smaller one, and that one actually goes and seals the 2 halves of the valve together. So that's the first thing I'm going to do, is get this old one off. I just use it. I've got these Husky picks. I have a set of small dental picks too, that if you need something a little bit more precise or gentle or whatever you want, however you want to say it. The seals in here actually didn't feel too bad. I wonder if I could have got away without doing this, but just cleaning it and rejuvenating it. But for, I think $20 with shipping for the seal kit, and it comes with a new valve and everything. So it's kind of a no-brainer when you got it all tore apart anyway. You might as well go ahead and throw a seal kit in it, and that way you won't have to peel it back apart again if it doesn't hold the air. You want to make sure you put a good generous amount of grease on these so they'll slip on a little easier. So you get that on there, and now this is the new valve. The old valve I left in the box. I didn't even bring it back onto the tabletop, but the old valve, they're almost impossible to get apart without destroying them, and so Henry just had these new ones made up, and they work very well. So there's a little seating area right inside of here, and you really want to make sure that isn't chewed up, and this one looks really good. It's down inside there. I think apparently that is what was wrong with, uh-oh. Oh, am I going to, that's right. Looks like I may have a little bit of a burr down inside this. I don't want to mess this shaft up here, so let me pause the camera, and I'm going to get trying to find a screw drill bit that'll fit down in there, and I'm just going to do this by hand so I'm not overdoing it, but I gotta clean out that little passageway so this will slip freely in there. If this doesn't slide freely back and forth, then we'll end up with it not shooting right, so stand by. Alrighty, I'm back. Just took a little bit of fiddling around with. I'm not sure why there was a burr in there. The other valve came out of there. I'm pretty sure I remember it coming out pretty easily, but so now we got this one will go in there and seal up onto the inside there just fine. But that's where that goes. And let's see, just make sure I got doing everything right here. Pretty sure that's all there is to it. So we got this piercing needle, goes on there. Yep. So now this is going to go down inside, and when this is what actually pierces the CO2 cartridge. When you first put the CO2 cartridge in, it won't pierce when you tighten this down, but the first time you cock it and shoot, this valve will push that into the front of the CO2 cartridge and actually pierce it. So let me put a little bit more grease. I had to clean off all my little chips from doing the deburring that valve. So I'm gonna put a little bit of grease on the face of this just to give it a little bit of good start to sealing up. And then we just screw the two halves of our valve back together. So I'm going to do this kind of off camera here, because I'm going to put this into my vise and then use my smooth jawed pliers to retighten this. So stand by 1 second. This doesn't need to be torqued to any kind of specification. You just want to turn it till the two halves touch, and that rubber O-ring will be inside there sealing things up. So the next piece we want to do is this outer valve O-ring. Again, you want to get a little bit of grease on there. I don't think you could use too much grease on these. Put a little bit of grease on the body just to help it slide into the tube. So now this is where things start to get a little important to pay attention. So on our tube here, it really doesn't matter which side you put up or down, but because this side was up before with the patina out, I'm going to keep that one up, because this lower part was sitting down inside the stock and protected from the weather. So what we're going to have is there's a threaded portion on the bottom here, and then there's the actual air port on the top. So we want to make sure we start this into the air tube. And I like to put a little bit of grease inside the tube here just to help the O-ring along and get it going up inside there. But we're going to have our air port up and the screw part down, and there's actually a screw that we got to screw into this. So be careful getting your O-ring started. And it'll start to go in. And now we want to do our, this is the I'm not sure what they call this, but if you remember when we took this out, there's threads on both sides, but there's a thinner part. Sorry. There's a thinner part and then a thicker part, and the thicker part went towards the front of the gun. So we want to get that one started in. Now our O-ring seems to be trying to catch on this little oval port here, so I'm gonna just use a flat blade screwdriver to kind of help it get going past that, and that seems to be working. There we go. So now what I've done in the past is take the barrel, and I can actually use that as kind of a ramrod to push all that stuff down inside. So you got to be careful as you're working your way down, because again your O-ring will try to catch on these ports as it's going past. And we're almost there. Now I'm getting to the point where I have my, actually I think I need to go in a little bit farther, because this ring needs to be here and this thread needs to be here. So just another ½ an inch down in or so. Okay. So now, don't worry if your threads aren't perfectly lined up. You can use a little pick like that to straighten them out with. So we have 2 fasteners now that need to go into here. The first one is this long cylinder one, and that's going to go into that black piece that I showed you that you had to put with the thick part to the front. So we're gonna snug that up with my smooth jawed pliers in a second. And then there is a small little kind of a squared off screw. It's gonna go into the valve here. I believe that's the right one. So this one's a little stubby. I think that's the right one. Let's. It's supposed to sit in there nice and flush with the tube. Yeah, that seems right. And that keeps that valve from being able to go back and forth. So now we want to take our smooth jawed pliers. Again, I love these Knipex pliers. You can get a set of these. They can find those on Amazon, I believe. One of my coworkers actually bought these for me. So we're just gonna snug up this. This is actually the rod that holds the whole rifle assembly into the stock. So now we're getting pretty close to being fully assembled here. Well, at least our lower half. So now we want to get our hammer assembly, and that goes in next in the back here. This one, I believe, is that screw that I had out. There's actually a little indent in the rear of the stock back in the back here that will accept this screw. So now that's basically, you would cock that back and the trigger and sear would catch that and hold that hammer back, and then when you pull the trigger it would let it fly forward. So that is that much of that. So let me go ahead and change out this O-ring on the CO2 seal. That one just broke. It's real brittle, so see, if I hadn't bought the seal kit, we'd be dead-ended right there. Again, lots of grease. So that's going to be our seal for up here in the front. And when you put your CO2 cartridge in, you'll seal that in there. I can feel that that's making a nice seal with that end of that barrel. That'll be good. Alrighty, so we got one more piece of seal left. Actually, a couple here. So we've got a little rubber O-ring right here that is a bolt seal. Too. So we'll put that over there. So this is what I use. This is a Super Lube synthetic Teflon grease. Really works good. Henry always sends a thing of pellet oil with it, and I guess that would be, maybe that's what he recommends using for assembly, but I really like using that grease. It just seems to stick on the parts a lot better and keep things together a lot better. All right, so now we need to assemble the barrel onto the lower half of the receiver, and that's where this little yellow piece goes in here like this into the air port. So there's two holes here. One's a screw hole, the other's the air port. You don't want to put the you don't want to put the O-ring into the screw hole. So now this little barrel separator goes on. And this can be a little bit fidgety here to get this kind of started here, but find the right screw here. Sorry guys, I don't do this every day, so there's a little bit of, I guess that is the right one. Just didn't get lined up. Like I said, it can be a little bit fidgety. Now I got some threads getting a bite in there. All right, that's good. So now I did find in my spare parts an extra one. This one was kind of broken a little bit and just not in great shape. So you want to be careful when you're doing this. This is not very secure right now, so you want to make sure. Probably should have. Let me take this side off. I don't want to have to take it back apart again. The breech there. So you slide this little retainer over your barrel and over your air tube. Sorry, I got you off. It's tough keeping you guys on camera and actually getting something done here. I'm going to use just a little bit of condenser here. Be very gentle. This is very fragile plastic, and be careful when you're tapping on it like that. But so now I've got it down, and before you could see where there was a silver line where the old one used to sit. There is a new screw here somewhere. For that I'll find it later. So this is the old one. It's broken. I just had it here. All right, I'll find it later. We'll get it in there. But there's a screw that goes through there and kind of pinches that and makes that nice and solid. All right, we'll worry about that later. So there's all our old O-rings. We'll get those out of our way. So the next thing we got to do is put our bolt back in there. So I'm going to point out a little thing here. There is an air port on the bottom of this that allows the air to go in and push the pellet out. And so you want to put that in there so that when you put this little bolt handle back in, it orients it so that that air hole is down. So you start working your bolt back in there. And right now I've got it situated so that the air hole is down. New breech seal. Go past that screw. Is that the screw? Again, sorry folks, I don't do this every day, so. Let me see here. That might be the right one. Let me try that one. It's got a shallower flat head, flat top. Oh yeah, that's better. That's going, it's recessed into the dovetail there. So, okay, let's try this again. I've got some schmutz on there from the. Let me grease that. So it is possible to align this so that you have this 180 out, so you got to be real careful. So now there's a little divot on the bolt handle, and that needs to go to the back, and that is going to orient with the screw that's on the end of the bolt. And so now you want to use a little flat blade screwdriver. Screw into the end of the bolt there, and there, voila, we have our bolt in. You can see the hole right there is kind of tipped up a little bit, so but when you rotate that down, it's going to put that hole in line with that little rubber breech plug that we put in there before. So now you want to do your, this is the end cap for the barrel. Put that in there. And I know this is the right screw that goes in there. So we'll get that going in there. We're getting real close, folks. This is probably going to be a real long one, but so I'm not sure where that screw came from. Right off the top of my head, I've got two. Oh, you know what? Oh, okay. So that's the screw that actually holds the. It'll go through the trigger guard and hold the gun in the bottom of this. Okay, so we are just about ready to put this guy back in his stock. So we are going to drop this down in. And there's the little part right there. So we have two big wood screws that goes in the butt plate. One little wood screw that goes in the back here. Our little machine screw that I mistakenly put in the top. Okay, so before I go and put any CO2 in it, I'm just going to make sure here we. Oh, I want this cock. I want this come out. Binding up. Alrighty, let me take that back out of the stock. something. She moves when she's not in the stock. On safe, and it was not letting it move, so we're good. Where did that screw go? The bottom screw, there it is. Okay, we're ready for CO2. I'll put that stuff together later. That's not important. Put the sight and the butt plate back on later. Too excited. Stand by while I grab a CO2. Did find the screw for the breech ring there. Alrighty. So standard Crosman CO2. Already got a bottle open over here. Let me see here. Just goes to show you how many of these I buy from Henry. He sends these one of these little drop of oil on your tip of your CO2 cartridge into there. Screw on your CO2 cap. Now, like I said, this is not going to pierce until you actually cock it and fire it the first time. So let's see what happens. There it goes. Oh yeah, she's shooting. All right, let me, I'm gonna cut this off. I'm gonna put the sight back on. I don't have a rear sight, but we can still play with it across the garage here. So I don't wanna keep you on for the rudimentary stuff there, but I'll put these other little pieces on and I'll bring you back on with the camera going across the garage and we'll shoot a couple pellets with it. Stand by. Alrighty there, friends. So I'm back with the finished product. Got it all rebuilt and sounds like it's firing pretty good. We'll go ahead and give it a couple of test shots across the garage, but you can see it's nice and clean looking now. It's not refinished, but it's you know, presentable looking, and it's got nice wood grain. But let's go ahead. I got my chronograph running right out here just beyond the camera here, so we'll go ahead and see what kind of power we're getting from this guy. And I'll have to look around and find a rear sight so we can actually do some testing with this, but some accuracy testing. So I got 456. These are the rifle cutters. These are 16 grain pellets. Let me see if I got a lighter one over here. Okay, these are the daisies. These are a 13 grain pellet. .509 with a 13 grain pellet. Let's do one more here. Seems to be packing a pretty good punch. There's 500 for that one. So there you go. Finished product. We did a 3-part series on this, a tear down, some conservation, and then the final one was a rebuild, which we're watching right now, and seems to be shooting pretty good. So I'll get a rear sight. Maybe I'll borrow the rear sight off my other one just so I can do a kind of a review video on this one as a separate video. But I really am going to search around and find a new sight for it so it's a complete gun. Anyway, there you go. The Model 180 rebuild from start to finish. Gotta watch all 3 parts. Hope you liked the video. If you did, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification bell. You'll be notified when I do post up new videos. Till next time, have a great day.